Thank you very much for this invitation. I have been given the theme Living Dialogue Among the Abrahamic Faith. The first thing actually I thought about adds very up to what Rabbi Rosen just said. The monotheistic faiths are based on revelations that are about God and are about man's responsibility in the world, and these constitute the basis for further inspirations, for new insights, what the duty of human beings is in a particular age and in a certain moment of history. The declaration of the relation of the Church with non-Christian religions is such an inspiration that carries on the Christian revelation into this present epoch, and it also starts with these words, in our age. And I mean this belief that indeed history is being carried on by God is at the basis of this inspiration. Let me first say a word about dialogue. For me, the ever again astonishing fact is that God speaks to human beings in history. The belief in this at the same time constitutes the common ground on which all monotheistic religions stand. They believe that God is not mute, but that he speaks to men and women, that he is a God of the word, the intent of this word being the help for those who he created. In the biblical language, God is not an idol made by humans, as the psalmist says, that these idols have hands that cannot grasp, a nose that cannot smell, and a mouth that doesn't speak. He rather is a living God who speaks and acts in history and also in this age. This is what makes the living dialogue of the Abrahamic faith possible in the first place. God as the one who creates and continues to create through his word, dia logo, with intention and purpose. Therefore, Christians also call him the Word. A second thought derived from this. If God speaks to men and women, this also creates a particular relationship between all men and women who hear and believe in his word, e.g. the faithful, and they are also called to speak to each other. I would call that the prophetic dimension of faith that is also common to all monotheistic religions. In the Hebrew and Christian Bible, we repeatedly find the sentence that all believers are prophets. Prophets have a particular duty and mission. They are to speak about God, but they are also to speak about man in his concrete world situation. And as we know, this world situation is rather dire at this moment. Globalization is being countered by fragmentations. Pluralism has become a characteristic of all societies, and religion is more and more made a mobilizer for political aims. The prophetic faith has two dimensions. One dimension is theological and the other one is anthropological. The theological dimension is different in our monotheistic faith. And we can also not harmonize this belief. Whether I believe in Jesus Christ or do not believe in Jesus Christ, whether I believe that Muhammad is the last prophet or do not believe that, we cannot harmonize these. These are remaining differences where we can learn from each other. And I have to say my personal experience very much in this theological part in many decades of dialogue is that it always has been a very enriching experience for me because I learned more about God and the divine. And I will say a very personal word. I have in my room laying the Bible, and in one of my first dialogues, a Muslim said, we always put the Quran at the highest place in the room and we don't post any books on it. So I also put my Bible in the highest place of the room, and I never put any books on it. And when I see this, I remember this inspiration I got from a Muslim, and I'm grateful to him. The second dimension is the ethical and anthropological dimension. We are called to improve the world. And this is a big task that is common to all religions, to all monotheistic religions. Thus, we may not find common ground with regard to that part of the revelation that speaks about God. But we can find common ground in regard to the part of the revelation that speaks about man and his life in the world. And I very much liked the reference to Mark 2:27, which says that the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. And I think on this basis, we can really try to tackle the many ills of our world. And we have a responsibility to do so. We had a large interreligious program for 25 years that was founded by a father, Father Pste. His name should be mentioned here because he really built up the interreligious dialogue on a theological basis here in Austria. And we now have a summer school every 2 years in a Benedictine monastery, and I teach there the course Introduction into Christianity. And the first thing, I show them a diagram showing that Christians and Muslims are more than half of the world's population. And I say, what does that teach to us? What does that mean in front of God to whom we are responsible? Does that mean that we can continue our age-old conflicts? Or do we have a responsibility towards peace? And I'm always deeply impressed by the reaction of these young people who come from all over the world, who are really hit by this question, and I think we should also be hit by it. So I want to come to a close because our moderator already looks at me. Many decades of living dialogue between Abrahamic faiths after Nostra Aetate have taught us that there are two sides to it. One, deeply enriching one, because real dialogue with people of faith can always lead to new insights about God, the depths of whom we can never fully discover. The other side is that it teaches us to think more in a more differentiated and nuanced way of what it means to be human and how to better act in humane ways. This is a lot. The deep longing for peace, the hunger and thirst for justice, and today necessarily the preservation of the environment are huge themes on which a living dialogue can lead to concrete action. It is this what the world expects from us to the greater glory of God, which, to cite an early Christian theologian from the 2nd century, is first and foremost the living and thriving human being. To stand up for this seems to me a central prophetic mission today. Thank you for your attention.